Caitlin Clark's new Kobe PE shoe sold out in less than a minute. And I saw so many tweets about this, so many people who were so sad that they missed out on this shoe. I saw that there was this one Dick's store and people were lined up around the corner, like camping out, trying to get the shoe.
Nike spent 2 years and millions of dollars meticulously building their next queen. They gave her the royal treatment, a custom shoe, and a massive marketing campaign designed to anoint her as the face of the sport. But then, in less than 60 seconds, Caitlin Clark accidentally burned their entire kingdom to the ground. Her first special edition shoe, a simple repurposed Kobe design, sold out instantly, crashing Nike's website and sending the resale market into an absolute frenzy. This wasn't just a successful launch, it was the brutal, undeniable proof that Nike had made a colossal mistake. This is the story of how they bet on the wrong superstar and how the market violently corrected them right before the entire world's eyes.
Nike finally delivers Caitlin Clark PE. Is this the first Caitlin Clark exclusive Nike commercial since she's entered the WNBA? I know she's made a cameo here, she's made a cameo there, she was featured as part of this rollout here, featured as part of this rollout there, but is this our first official Caitlin Clark solo commercial?
To understand the magnitude of this event, you have to look at the tale of two sneakers, a brutal and undeniable contrast. When Clark's Kobe Player Edition dropped, it wasn't a launch, it was a phenomenon. An estimated 13,000 pairs were not just sold, they were vaporized. The Nike SNKRS app, a platform built to handle immense traffic, didn't just lag, it buckled, throwing up error messages and leaving hundreds of thousands of fans staring at a spinning wheel of disappointment. It was a digital stampede. Within minutes, the fallout hit the secondary markets. On platforms like StockX and GOAT, the shoe, originally priced at $190, was being listed for $350, $400, even $600. It was a clear signal of insatiable demand, a cultural moment solidified in a sky-high resale value.
Caitlin and was thought to be a colorway made just for her up until just a couple days ago, where Nike's official images of the shoes got leaked and the announcement was made saying that everyone will now have a chance to wear.
Now shift your focus to the other side of this story, Aja Wilson's signature shoe line. This wasn't a quiet release, it was the culmination of a massive, heavily promoted multi-year effort by Nike, yet the whispers from inside the industry painted a grim picture. Sneaker blogs and insider forums reported that pallets of her shoes were sitting unsold. The online product pages didn't have the coveted sold out banner. Instead, they had the lonely, echoing availability of a full-size run. The dreaded rumors began to circulate that the line was destined for the clearance rack, the graveyard where overhyped and underperforming products go to die. The contrast couldn't be more stark. One athlete moved thousands of units in seconds with almost zero personal promotion, creating a digital riot. The other, despite the full backing of Nike's marketing machine, struggled to create a ripple. The market had spoken and its verdict was ruthless.
Well, I don't think I'd be in the wrong to say Caitlin Clark's Kobe is the sneaker of the week, and everyone's focus is mostly on this one. If you really wanted that shoe, I hope you put your footwork in, because there's supposedly only 13,000 pairs on Sneakers App tomorrow. Combine that with a really high resale value, I expect this shoe to be a relatively difficult comp. But my hope seriously is that with Caitlin Clark's sneaker coming out, that this sets a precedent and we might see other exclusive player edition Kobe's drop for the public.
The real sting in this story lies in the staggering investment Nike had poured into the wrong horse. For 2 entire years, Aja Wilson's brand was treated like royalty. She was given the kind of meticulous, bespoke attention usually reserved for legends like Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Nike wasn't just giving her a shoe, they were attempting to build an icon from scratch.
These things is some fire. I'm telling you, where there's smoke, there is fire, and these things is hitting so hard. And who got a bot? Who a shoe plug? Because I need 2 pairs. I need one for the sneaker wall, and I need one for my feet, because these things is hidden right here, and no, I don't want to pay $600 on GOAT.
Imagine the design meetings. Executives poring over color swatches, designers laboring over the perfect custom logo, and marketing teams storyboarding commercials. Her shoe was a deeply personal project, a narrative woven into the very fabric of the product. It featured Celtic symbols to honor her parents, and as reports claim, even had her grandmother's favorite sayings inscribed on the sole. It was more than a basketball shoe. It was a handcrafted family scrapbook you could lace up. Nike gave Wilson every single toy in the chest, every possible advantage. They were all in.
I lost all respect for A'ja Wilson. I don't want to hear her opinions. I don't care what she has to say from this point on. When you keep a Nike deal 2 years in secret while you're spewing all that crazy stuff about Caitlin Clark in the Time magazine, read it. Read what she said in the Time magazine. Yet you had a Nike deal the whole entire time.
And while this artisanal creation was being perfected in a lab, Caitlin Clark was out on the court becoming a living legend in hand-me-downs. She was shattering NCAA scoring records, drawing presidential attention, and single-handedly making women's basketball a primetime television event, all while wearing repurposed Kobe's. She had no personal logo, no signature line, no multi-million-dollar ad campaign built around her. She was grabbing a pair of shoes off the rack, lacing them up, and then casually rewriting the history books. Nike had a bona fide superstar, a marketing dream come true, right in front of them, and yet they were busy in the workshop, painstakingly crafting a crown for someone else. The irony is almost too perfect to be real.
So it's finally here. Caitlin Clark sneakers from Nike is finally dropping. She was signed to them last year, and the sneakers is a year late in my opinion, but nonetheless, I'm excited because these sneakers is finally coming out. But what does annoy me a little bit is that this is a collaboration with Kobe. Now, Kobe, respect to Kobe, the legend, rest in peace, great basketball player. But in my opinion, Caitlin Clark is a big enough star and she's creating her own legacy. So I feel like, at least for her first sneaker, it shouldn't be a collaboration with any other player, dead or alive, in my opinion. I feel like Caitlin should have, for her first shoe, had her own original design just for her. No.
But the story gets murkier. It wasn't just a case of poor investment. There was an element of secrecy and drama that adds a layer of genuine controversy. It was later revealed that A'ja Wilson's massive Nike deal had been kept under wraps for 2 whole years. During that exact same period, a toxic and divisive narrative was exploding across social media and sports talk shows. Pundits and fans were busy framing Caitlin Clark as an overhyped, privileged newcomer who was stealing the spotlight from deserving veterans. It was a narrative of resentment, and A'ja Wilson was often positioned as the central figure of this overlooked group. The Time magazine article she was featured in became a flashpoint for this debate.
And all this was done while the shoes being developed, while the collections being done. To demonize Caitlin Clark and try to label her as a privileged white girl that's getting all the privileges, even though she earned everything she got. This ain't about color. This is about good and bad. And I honestly find this a little evil. I find this evil. This is beyond bad, because you had the ability to speak up and say, hey, everybody, relax. Don't get on Caitlin Clark. She got a shoe deal. That's cool. I got one too. Mine's taking a little bit, but it's going to come out. Just be patient. She could have came out and said that, but she didn't.
Yet, all this time, she secretly held the golden ticket. She had already secured the massive, career-defining Nike deal that her supporters were publicly demanding for her. She had the power to douse the flames of division with a single statement. A simple, "Hey everyone, cool it. My time is coming, be patient," would have instantly shifted the conversation. But she chose to remain silent. She let the controversy brew, allowing a narrative of bitterness to fester while she sat on a secret that proved the entire premise was flawed. In hindsight, that silence looks less like dignified patience and more like a strategic, calculated play. A decision to ride a wave of sympathy, even if it was based on a false pretense. It was a gamble that would ultimately make Nike's eventual pivot to Clark all the more dramatic and embarrassing.
Nike just released a brand new commercial featuring Caitlin Clark and her new Kobe shoe that she released today. And I saw this commercial yesterday on social media. I thought it was so cool. There's a shot when she's in the locker room and she opens her eye and it like turns into what looks like a snake eye, but when you zoom in, it's actually the Kobe logo.
While personal rivalries make for great headlines, the cold, hard numbers tell the real story. The market doesn't care about feelings or narratives. It responds to gravity. And Caitlin Clark's gravitational pull is a force of nature. Her influence extends far beyond the court and into the realm of pure economic power. That estimated $82 million impact on the state of Iowa isn't just an abstract figure. It represents sold-out hotels, overflowing restaurants, and local businesses thriving every time she played. She wasn't just an athlete, she was a traveling economic stimulus package.
Your stock price since 2021, it is down nearly 60%. Your executives and the people who are making these decisions, their stock options are worthless. Meanwhile, you have the single biggest needle mover in all of American sports since Michael Jordan, and you have somehow convinced yourself that you need to slow play this. Let me show you Google Trends search traffic for 4 female basketball players. There is one who only rivals Caitlin Clark, and that is Angel Reese, and you do not have her. She is over at Reebok. I am so confused as to how you would be so invested in the WNBA for several years, and you have been doing great work to try to elevate and uplift that league and many of the athletes there. But this seems like you have convinced yourself that this needs to be an either-or conversation. And we never have an either-or conversation in the men's sports. You have like 10 signature athletes. Half of them don't deserve a signature shoe.
Her impact on television ratings is even more staggering. Her games don't just win their time slot, they obliterate the competition. WNBA matchups featuring Clark regularly soar past 1, 2, or even 3 million viewers. Meanwhile, other games in the league, even high-stakes matchups, are lucky to flirt with 300,000 or 400,000. TV executives are salivating. She single-handedly made the WNBA a must-see TV event. And it's not just her home games. When the Indiana Fever travel, ticket sales in opposing arenas explode. Prices on the secondary market skyrocket. Teams that once struggled to fill seats are suddenly seeing sellout crowds. All because people want a chance to witness the phenomenon in person. This isn't something a marketing team can create. It's an organic, world-shifting movement. And it was happening in plain sight while Nike was still reading from an outdated script.
You finally put her in a Super Bowl campaign with 9 other women, and all respect to them, but none of them are moving the needle quite like she is. Your tagline in that was "You can't win, so win." One of the best explanations I can come up with is that you are wringing your hands and afraid to enter into this politically divisive conversation that has been co-opted by the media and pundits who are race baiting and doing all kinds of ridiculous things around women's basketball. You can't win, so win. You have the unicorn, the chosen one, the one who everyone wants to hear from, and you were just sitting around. Gatorade, State Farm, Gainbridge, Wilson Basketball have all figured out how to have a point of view with Caitlin Clark. Please, for the love of God, figure something out.
A fumble this big doesn't happen in a vacuum. Back at Nike's world headquarters, the fallout was reportedly immense. The company's stock had hit a painful 5-year low, and restless investors were starting to ask hard questions. How could a brand that defined itself by being on the cutting edge of culture miss the biggest cultural movement in modern sports? The internal pressure mounted until it spilled out into the public. Jordan Rodgers, a former head of basketball marketing for Nike, couldn't stay silent. He took to social media and essentially put his old employer on blast, congratulating them for being clowns who had almost let their golden goose walk away. Imagine being a fly on the wall in those boardrooms. The stock charts are all pointing down, a former top executive is publicly calling you a fool, and your biggest rival, Reebok, is making headlines by signing Angel Reese, another massive star you let slip through your fingers.
I find it's very deplorable to me. I find it's very deplorable that you allow Caitlin Clark to get crapped on that whole entire time and even speak up. And on top of that, Nike's a bunch of a-holes too, because they didn't speak up and defend Caitlin Clark or speak up and say, hey, we got Aja's shoe coming. We got Aja's shoe coming. Just got to be patient. Caitlin Clark's going to get hers too. I don't understand the tactics here. All you're causing controversy that didn't have to be there. You're calling division where it didn't have to be there. You're calling racial, issues where it didn't have to be there.
Nike was getting beaten on all fronts. They had convinced themselves they needed to slow play the most explosive asset in sports. And in doing so, they not only damaged their own brand, but created an opening for their competitors. They were so focused on trying to force feed the public a brand story that nobody was buying. They failed to simply ride the colossal tidal wave that was right in front of them. It was a case of corporate hubris so profound it was almost tragic. A self-inflicted wound from a company that once seemed invincible.
I just felt like across the board, this commercial was a 10 for 10. And a lot of people have been getting on Nike because they don't feel like they have been promoting Caitlyn as much as they should. But I will say we have to give credit where credit is due. I feel like in the past month or so, they had been tweeting about Caitlyn more. And then obviously with this shoe release, they made this super sick commercial to promote it. And of course, just today, Caitlyn Clark's new Kobe PE shoe sold out in less than a minute. And I saw so many tweets about this, so many people who were so sad that they missed out on this shoe. I saw that there was this one Dick's store and people were lined up around the corner, like camping out, trying to get the shoe.
So we arrive at the billion-dollar question. Why? Why would a marketing Goliath like Nike, a company with an army of trend forecasters and a history of spotting generational talent, be so blind? The most plausible and most troubling answer is fear. Nike, the brand that once told us to just do it, was paralyzed by indecision. They were reportedly terrified of wading into the messy, politically charged conversations that had started to swirl around women's basketball. The media, hungry for conflict, had successfully turned the sport into a battleground for the culture wars, spinning narratives of race and privilege.
I heard that Nike stocked about 14,000 of these, and that is an unconfirmed report, but they sold out in less than a minute. If that's any indication of what a Caitlyn Clark signature shoe will do, I think Nike better continue to get on it and get ready to launch this brand.
Nike, a global corporation, was acting like a skittish deer caught in the headlights. They were so afraid of offending a small but very loud segment of the online world that they ignored the deafening roar of the mainstream crowd. It was a classic case of analysis paralysis. While they were busy holding focus groups and mapping out the potential PR blowback, other brands like Gatorade, State Farm, and Wilson Basketball simply jumped in. They recognized that Caitlyn Clark wasn't a political statement. She was a superstar. Nike's hesitation, their attempt to play it safe, was their biggest mistake. They were so busy trying to navigate a cultural minefield that they forgot the first rule of business: give the people what they want.
Nike released the shoe this morning for $190. That was the going rate for the signature sneaker. Now, I'm here to tell you, as you guys can see right here on Google, just type in Caitlyn Clark Kobe 5. StockX, currently right now, they're going for $345. On GOAT, they're going for $386. And Flight Club, you're looking at $375. Must mind you, these sneakers was just released a few hours ago. These sneakers were retail for $190. This is the Caitlyn Clark defect.
The core of Nike's blunder lies in a fundamental misunderstanding of modern stardom. They tried to manufacture what can only be earned organically. Look at the efforts behind Aja Wilson. She needed the full machine: stylists, scriptwriters, meticulously crafted ad campaigns, and even a commercial directed by Malia Obama. Her persona was a product, a diamond in the rough story carefully constructed and sold to the public. It was a polished, professional, and ultimately hollow campaign. Clark, on the other hand, just needs a ball and a hoop. Her 30-foot logo bombs are the commercial. Her fiery, competitive spirit is the brand identity. There is no script. There is no choreographed persona. It's just raw, unfiltered, and undeniably authentic. The public has a sixth sense for this. They can smell a manufactured narrative from a mile away. Wilson's brand felt like a corporate presentation, complete with bullet points and mission statements. Clark's rise felt like a viral, grassroots movement that exploded from the ground up. One was an attempt to tell people who to care about, the other was people deciding for themselves. This is precisely why a simple, repurposed Kobe shoe with Clark's name attached could outsell a bespoke, handcrafted signature sneaker. People weren't just buying a shoe, they were buying a piece of that authentic magic, a connection to a real-life supernova that no marketing budget on Earth could ever hope to create. The final delicious irony in this entire saga is how the crown was ultimately won. While Caitlyn Clark was on the court breaking records, a very different kind of campaign was being waged off of it. For years, Aja Wilson and her supporters engaged in a public campaign for respect. There were constant complaints about not getting enough shine, grievances aired about how long it was taking Nike to give her a signature line, and thinly veiled shots at the media for not anointing her the undisputed queen of the sport. It felt less like an athlete's journey and more like a political run, complete with slogans, pity plays, and demands for more respect. Clark, meanwhile, did none of that. She never once begged for the spotlight or complained about her place in the hierarchy. She just kept her head down and dominated. She packed arenas, dropped highlight after highlight, and became the global ambassador for the sport that Wilson had always dreamed of being, all without asking for it. The crown wasn't something she campaigned for, it was something she earned so decisively that even a reluctant Nike had to finally stop, look at the scoreboard, and concede defeat. While one athlete was busy telling everyone she deserved the crown, the other was busy building a throne so big that no one could ignore it. In the end, performance didn't just trump politics, it obliterated it. In the end, Nike's pivot to Caitlin Clark wasn't a brilliant strategic decision. It was a forced correction, an inevitable surrender to an undeniable reality. The market is the ultimate truth teller. It doesn't care about carefully crafted campaigns, manufactured narratives, or who has the most MVP trophies. It cares about authentic connection and raw magnetic star power. Aja Wilson is a fantastic player, a champion with a decorated resume, but Caitlin Clark is a cultural movement. She's the rare athlete who transcends her sport and becomes a phenomenon that kids, parents, and even people who have never watched a full game want to be a part of. Nike spent a fortune trying to script a story of superstardom, only to have the real superstar write her own, right in front of them without their help. The frantic clicks, the crashing servers, and the sold-out arenas were not part of a marketing plan. They were the voice of the people, and that voice was a roar. The revolution is already here, and Nike just woke up in time to realize who was actually leading it. They didn't crown Caitlin Clark. The market did it for them, loud and clear, with every last sold-out shoe. If you support Caitlin, then comment baby goat down below.